Hello, guys! Hope you're doing well. I'm Melanie. If you enjoy a good Reddit story, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I won't stop you. Right then, let's crack on with our first story of the day. Our first story of the day comes from Business Bobcat 9888 in the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it says, "Am I the a-hole for canceling a third date over a peanut allergy? A friend of mine set me up on a date with a coworker of hers. She said we were perfect for each other. Our first date was at a coffee shop, and then we arranged to meet up at a botanical garden the following week. While we were at the botanical garden, she told me about her peanut allergy, which she described as life-threatening. I told her that must be stressful, and she said it was. We arranged for a lunch date this week, at the end of the date. After that date, I started thinking, I love peanuts and eat them all the time. I put peanut butter in and on a lot of things, including my dog's toys, which he drags all over my apartment, getting invisible peanut oil everywhere, I'm sure. I can't see a potential relationship with this woman ever progressing to a serious stage without me changing my diet and habits. At this point, we've only been on 2 dates, and I think it would be more respectful of her time to not go on a third. So I called her and told her I was sorry, but we need to cancel. She asked if I wanted to reschedule, and I apologized, but said I didn't think we would work out long term. She asked why, and I was honest. I said I really like peanuts and would be nervous about potentially harming her. She said there were a lot of safety precautions we could take to keep her safe, and I admitted I know that, but don't want to do them. She said wow, and told me I'm immature. I apologized again, but she hung up. She told my friend what happened, and my friend is confused by my reasoning. She said her coworker said I'm a massive douche. I don't feel like I am. We only went on 2 dates. 2 dates don't imply any commitment. I asked her if she agrees I'm a douche. She said she's not sure, but that my logic is definitely weird. Do you guys agree? Let me tell you something. I've read some bizarre excuses, but this one takes the proverbial peanut cake. So you're telling me you've decided to exit a budding romance because of your deep, unbreakable bond with peanuts? I mean, come on, mate. Are we really prioritizing snack habits over potential love connections now? Here's where it gets ridiculous. It's like you've chosen a lifestyle of peanut devotion over exploring something that could actually be worthwhile. And the worst part is, you didn't even give it a fair shot. I get it, allergies can be tricky, but there are so many workarounds. And she even offered solutions, proactively looking to make it work. So, was it really the peanuts or something else entirely? At this point, I'm just laughing. If you're listening to this, you felt that too. Drop your thoughts below because I need therapy after this. Someone says, you like peanuts more than you like her. That's fine. It could have just as easily been reversed. If she didn't like dogs and dropped you because you have a dog. And that's fine too. Edit. My son has a life-threatening allergy to cashews and pistachios. I pray that any future dates would gracefully bow out if they were not willing or able to remove those items from their life. Kissing someone after eating those foods can cause a reaction. You did the right thing, original poster. OP responds, I like your example. If someone found out I had a dog and then said they didn't want another date because they don't like dogs, I would be grateful. We wouldn't ever be able to live together, so why waste my time? Someone says, you are not the a-hole. You don't need a reason to decide not to date someone. But a peanut allergy is a perfectly good one if you eat a lot of peanuts, don't want to give them up, and don't want to deal with all the precautions to protect her. I probably would have just told her I'm not feeling the connection I want to feel in a relationship and feel it's best we both move on. It seems getting specific about why you don't want to date often brings a pretty negative response. So I prefer to just keep things neutral. The truth is, though, that some people don't take rejection well and will get hurt no matter what you say. OP provides more information in the comments by stating, that makes sense. Thank you for the advice. I will keep it in mind for the future. Someone says, I have a life-threatening peanut allergy, and I'd honestly find this thinking refreshing. I'd still want to be your friend, not the a-hole. Thanks for being honest and considerate. The next story comes from YFTDDDTF in the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it says, am I the a-hole for telling a friend's boyfriend that he can't have a traditional wife because he's not a traditional man? I, a 25-year-old female, was hanging out with some friends and their significant others last week. To make a long story short, my friend's boyfriend kept talking about how women no longer want to be traditional wives, and that's why many of them are single. I responded that in 2025, women don't feel like they need a man in order to provide the lives that they want for themselves. He kept going on about what women used to do and how they were all about taking care of their husbands and household without complaining. I let it go on for a while, but I got tired of hearing his rant and told him that he can't have a traditional wife when my friend goes 50-50 on all the bills with him and works more hours than he does. I continued with, he isn't a traditional husband and can't provide for his household like he's supposed to, so that my friend can stay home and do those traditional duties. I may have become the a-hole when I told him that it sounds like he wants another mommy and not a wife. It became silent, and he told me that my way of thinking proved his point. The conversation pivoted elsewhere, and I thought that was it, but I got a message from my friend saying that her boyfriend was upset at me for what I said, and I embarrassed him. He wants me to apologize, but I don't think that I should have to, being as though I was responding to his rant about traditional women. My friend said she doesn't think I'm wrong, but doesn't think I'm right either, and I should have just let him talk because he had a few drinks. Am I the a-hole? Update. I called my friend to try and understand why her boyfriend was embarrassed and why she was trying to be neutral in the situation. She explained that I'm her friend, and although she doesn't disagree with what I said, she feels like she needs to have her man's back as well. I told her that she doesn't have my back by asking me to apologize to him and not standing up for me, or at the very least, telling him that what he was saying was idiotic. We talked for about an hour, and I actually feel like it didn't get anywhere. I told her that I would not apologize and that he can't come around me anymore, and she was very upset with that statement. I feel like I lost a close friend, and that hurts a lot, but I will not be disrespected. Sorry this isn't some juicy stuff, but I wanted to update everyone on how the situation ended. Fitchstrike8584 says, tell him you're sorry, he's still a baby on the breast, and that he proved your point by making his mother stand up to you for him. Not the asshole, but you're surrounded by them. No one should have let him get more than a couple of sentences into that nonsense. The next story comes from Existing Love 3152 in the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it says, am I the a-hole for telling my wife that's why she should get a job after she told me people shop a lot more than she does? So my wife and I are in our late 30s. We've been married for 13 years, and she's been a stay-at-home mom that whole time, other than doing a short Grubhub gig for a few months. She made the decision to be a stay-at-home mom because she wanted to spend time with the kids and not miss anything. Even though when dating, she said she wanted to work, and I expressed wanting to be a dual-income household. One child is mine biologically, the eldest is not. They are 14 and 11. Yesterday, my wife went to the mall shopping, and when she came back, she said, you should have seen all those people with a lot of bags spending $800 plus, and here I was spending only $100. I felt poor. I told her, well, if you feel poor, maybe it's time for you to get a job. She went silent and walked away. For reference, I make $130,000 at my job after taxes, and we live in a low cost of living city with modest expenses. I give her $1,000 a month in fun money, and she feels it's not enough anymore. We have a separate fund for gifts. The fun money is purely for fun. This trip to the mall was just shopping for herself. I could increase her allowance, but I think it's reasonable, so I just throw the extra into investing, and she's always saying how we should invest less and spend more, but I disagree. She always shows me her friends on vacation, their wives shopping, or what new car their husbands bought them, etc. And I always say the same thing, because most of those wives work jobs too, and she doesn't, so I feel it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. Am I the a-hole? Someone says, guess who's not at the mall spending anything? People without much money. Her data set is flawed. A Reddit user says, you're not the a-hole. These people are nuts. Your wife is a spoiled brat. $1,000 a month to just spend on herself, and then she whines about it? Must be nice. Dr. Mario Master says, not the a-hole, but she's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Instead of a job for now, suggest that she volunteer at something that puts her in contact with people experiencing poverty, such as a soup kitchen, a homeless shelter, or Habitat for Humanity, so that she can see how well off she is. Nobody needs to spend $800 at the mall, but when you think everyone else is doing it and not you, you can start to feel deprived. That's the problem with the United States. Even our millionaires think they don't have enough money because they don't have billions, and they lobby for tax cuts. The next story comes from a throwaway account in the relationship advice subreddit, and it says, "My boyfriend, 31 male, is suddenly demanding that I, 27 female, stop consuming fictional media at all. What do I even do?" So this is honestly one of the weirder relationship issues I've ever found myself in, and I feel like I'm losing my grasp on what's normal here. My boyfriend and I originally bonded over our shared love of nonfiction. We both went through this big Tudorian history phase when we first met, like deep diving into documentaries and nerding out about Henry VIII succession drama. I loved that about him. I still love that about him, and I never, ever cared that he wasn't as into the high fantasy books and shows I adored. It's just never been a requirement for me that my partner shares every interest with me. When it came to watching things we both would enjoy, it would be stuff like The Bear, period dramas that were on the more accurate side, gritty crime series, docuseries, and so on. We'd usually have a good time with that, but things have really changed over the past couple of months. At first, it was just small stuff where he'd gently decline when I asked if he wanted to watch some of the more reality-based shows we both used to enjoy. Then he started making these little comments about how fiction is a waste of time, or how fantasy is just escapism for people who don't want to deal with real life. I brushed that off because everyone's entitled to their tastes, but as you can see from the title, it's become more than that. A couple of weeks ago, he started getting visibly annoyed if I put on one of my shows while he was in the room. Not even asking him to watch it with me, just me watching something fictional, and it was the same with books. He literally scoffed when he saw me rereading one of my favorite fantasy novels and said, "I don't understand how an adult can take that seriously." What happened last night is what encouraged me to make this post. I was curling up after work with a blanket in my book, and he told me that he can't respect the fact that I waste hours on make-believe when there's real knowledge out there. He said fiction is rotting my brain and that he doesn't want to date someone who lives in stories instead of the real world. I told him that's ridiculous. I have a stable job, friends, responsibilities. I'm not ignoring reality. I just like my stories. It's relaxing. It's fun. It doesn't hurt anyone. He doubled down and said if I cared about intellectual growth, I'd stop reading and watching fictional media altogether and stick to nonfiction. I honestly thought he was exaggerating at first, but he's dead serious. He said he doesn't want that stuff in his home and that we needed to be on the same wavelength about what's worthy of our time. I told him no, absolutely not. That's controlling and bizarre. He insists it's not controlling, but rather a standard for the kind of life he wants to build. I don't know if this is burnout, depression, some weird identity crisis, something he read online, or something else entirely, but it's making me uncomfortable, and honestly, I feel disrespected and a bit angry. I don't know how to talk to him anymore without him acting like I'm intentionally lowering my IQ by reading fantasy. Desperate to Not Dream says, does he think all art is a waste of time? Painting, music, theater, and so on? Throughout human history, there has always been a desire for the creative arts. The education system acknowledges that creative arts are a required part of a well-rounded education. I don't understand how he thinks that, for example, reading a nonfiction biography about Shakespeare is worthwhile, but reading A Midsummer Night's Dream is an egregious waste of time? He's free to do whatever he likes, but he is absolutely trying to control you. He's being absolutely unreasonable. Our last story comes from Dinosaurus02 in the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it says, "Am I the a-hole for being furious that my husband gave away my sake and wine after I told him repeatedly not to? I, a 30-year-old female, came back from Japan about 2 months ago and brought home an expensive bottle of sake that I specifically picked after doing a sake tasting class. I'm not a big drinker, so I chose something I genuinely liked and that my husband would enjoy. It was meant as a for us thing. I also had an unopened bottle of German wine that a friend gifted me 3 months ago. My husband and I had multiple conversations where he asked if he could give the sake to his father, his cousin, or his friends, and I said a strict no every single time. Not vaguely, not jokingly, very clearly. He knew it was sentimental and partially a souvenir. He also refused to drink it the one time I opened it because he had a headache, so I had about 20 mils and left the rest untouched. Fast forward to 3 days ago. I'm away from home, and he has friends over after a pub night. I didn't even consider that he would touch the sake or the wine because we've had the "don't share this" conversation countless times. The next day, I ask him where the sake is. He casually tells me he shared the sake and the unopened wine with his friends, and they finished everything. I was stunned, angry, disappointed, all of it. He then says he forgot that I told him not to give it to anyone. Then he adds that he doesn't remember unimportant stuff. Bear in mind, I had even given him a bottle of whiskey specifically meant for his friends after I returned from my travel. When I confronted him about the sake and wine, he flipped it and said, "Don't let it spoil our relationship," and suggested I see a counselor. Am I the a-hole for being this upset over something he claims is not a big deal, even though I'd told him explicitly and repeatedly not to touch it? I'm unable to process the fact that my husband casually crossed a major boundary and is nonchalant about it. Edit. Husband and his friends are not alcoholics. He rarely indulges. Second edit. He said, "Don't let it spoil our relationship," not throwing away the relationship. Sincere apologies. Casual Lore says, "You're not the a-hole. Are you kidding me? Not a big deal. He knew exactly what he was doing and he did it anyway because he didn't care about anyone but himself. What an asshole." Then he adds that he doesn't remember unimportant stuff. Oh, so your expressly stated desires are unimportant. Cool. Oh my goodness, guys, what an absolute whirlwind of a story. Honestly, if I were any more bewildered, I'd transform into a human tumbleweed. And this bloke has the audacity to say, "Don't let it spoil our relationship." Like he's talking about spoiled milk, not sacred alcohol. But enough about that, because I'm sure many of you have thoughts, rants, and plenty to say yourselves. If you're watching this and feeling a bit like your brain's just done a double somersault, well, you are not alone. It's stories like these that keep reminding us what a roller coaster love, life, and all its chaotic commitments can be. So here's what you can do next. Drop your thoughts below, vent with me, and let's get a little interactive. Was it Team Sake or Team Sanity that wins this one? And whilst you're at it, do hit that subscribe button and check out more outrageous tales from the abyss of Reddit. Until another peculiar conundrum unravels, stay spirited, stay safe, and as always, keep one foot in reality and the other, well, wherever you left your expectations. Cheers.